Tonight is a big game, so I figure I get on here, do a little pre-game for once. Usually I don't because of how school works out, but since today's significant and I don't got anything going on, let's go ahead and do this. So, gonna tip off in like 2.5 hours. Huge game, game 3. Series is tied at 1-1. Lakers taking on the Nuggets in Denver. So, let's look at it. Denver is coming off a win. So, really, I don't know how huge this game is because I think it is a stretch for Denver to win 3 games in a row against LA, even though 2 of the games will be in Denver. So, if LA loses this game, I'm pretty sure they can win game 4. I just am. So, I don't think this is a panic game or anything. I think that if they lose, they do have a security blanket to fall back on of that game 4, but they want to win. Excuse me. I'm sure they want to win. So, this time, since the game was in Denver, I expect to see J.R. Smith and Chris Anderson come out in the 4th quarter and maybe help shut the door, because they didn't really do that on the road, but now they're back at home. So I'm sure they're going to play well. J.R. Smith's also always good for a couple threes. He scores 15, 18 points usually. Birdman's good for 8 points, 6 boards, 2-3 blocks. That kind of stuff. They weren't getting that on the LA home court, but now they're in Denver, so they should bring it. But in spite of all that, I think this game can definitely go either way. Denver can't stop Kobe. I think we've seen that over the first 2 games. Just in general, they don't have the right guys to stop Kobe. Dante Jones tries to play defense on him. He's not good enough. And if they try J.R. Smith, it's just a total disaster. Carmelo does a good job on Kobe, but they can't have Carmelo guarding Kobe all the time because Carmelo needs to save his energy for the offensive end, because they need him to be good offensively. So it's not that simple. I mean, Kobe can guard Carmelo every now and then, but he can't do it every time down because he needs to save himself for the offensive end. And luckily, he doesn't have to do that because LA does have guys like Ariza and Odom and so on and so forth. So it's probably, at this point, it's really looking like you have Kobe, who can get his 40, and you have Carmelo, who's going to get his 40. I mean, both those guys cannot be stopped. They're just, really, it's not a knock on either defense. They're just too good right now. I mean, Kobe lit up Batlier and Artest, so it's not a knock on the defenses. Just, they're at a high level right now. So what else is it going to come down to? Billups has not shot well so far this series. In Game 2, he made up for it by getting to the free throw line and getting 13 free throws. So he hasn't found a shot yet in this series. If he finds it, that could spell trouble, because once he starts hitting threes and getting buckets, could be difficult. For the LA side, somebody needs to step up and be that 20-point scorer. Usually it's Gasol. Gasol hasn't played poorly this series, but he's not putting in his 20 points. He's getting a lot of rebounds. He's finding ways to positively impact the game, and he's playing well by all means, but he is not getting his 20 points, because in order for him to get his 20 points, he needs to get down there and get his hands dirty with the likes of Kenyon Martin and Birdman and Nene, and those guys, I think, intimidate him a little bit. Maybe it has to be Lamar Odom throwing in 20 points. I think Odom is also intimidated by Nene, Birdman, and Kmart, but he needs to get over that, because he is an extremely talented player. Point guard handles, he can get to the hoop, he can shoot from the perimeter, he can shoot threes. He's really just a very special player that likes of which we don't get to see that often, so he needs to take advantage of that. He hasn't been scoring well for a while now. He needs to get over it. He needs to man up, find a way to get some points, because he's playing well, he's getting rebounds, but I want to see Lamar Odom score more. It's because I'm pretty sure that Kobe and Melo might cancel each other out, at least points-wise, because both those guys are probably going to go crazy. And when you look at Denver, you have Chauncey Billups, who's probably going to get his points, because I think he'll find his shot in Denver. You have guys like Nene and Kmart and Birdman who, you know, they're not great offensive weapons, but they can get down there, usually combined for about 30 points down low. Those three guys, maybe even a little more than 30 points. J.R. Smith coming off the bench. And Kliza was really the guy who saved Denver in Game 2, and that cannot happen. You can't let Linus Kliza kill you. So it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, for LA, I think the key is, I think Odom needs to score more. However he does it, he needs to get his points. And somebody needs to hit some threes. Fisher, Kobe, Vujacic, Farmar, Odom, I don't care who it is, but they need somebody to consistently knock down threes. They don't have that right now. They really need somebody to do it. And maybe it's time for Vujacic to wake up, because he's been bad all year. But he's been a 40% three-point shooter in his career. He's that kind of player, absolutely. So, right now, LA is missing Vladimir Radmanovic. So, if this Laker team does not want the Los Angeles faithful to spend the rest of the offseason mad at the front office for trading Vladimir Radmanovic, they need to man up, and somebody needs to replace his three-point shooting. And I don't care who it is. I don't think they can stop Carmelo. I think they just have to let him get what he gets and try and stop everyone else. He's just playing at a really high level right now, so there's not much you can do. I think Denver will win. I will not be surprised if LA wins by any stretch of the imagination. I could definitely see this going a blowout either way. I could see this being a close game either way. I think Denver will win, but definitely tune into this one. So that's really all I got to say. Odom, score some more, and somebody on LA needs to knock down some threes. For Denver, I think the key probably is their bench, because their bench hasn't played that great so far. J.R. Smith and Birdman need to play great, because it's at home where they need to play well, where they're expected to play well. I think they can take care of it, but gonna be good. See you guys later.